Hey everybody, it's Miss Nelson. So for this project, you are going to create a card, and it's a thank you card to somebody who is special to you or who does a lot for you. You're going to thank them for being them. So what you're going to need is a piece of plain paper, okay? Another piece of paper, and if you've got cardstock, which is thicker, that's even better for this one. But if you don't have it, that's okay. So thin paper and thick paper, or just two pieces of thin paper. You are going to need scissors. If you have safety scissors, then use those. Make sure that you have a grown-up with you when you do this, okay, when you cut. You are going to need crayons or colored pencils or oil pastels, and you are going to need a glue stick or glue or tape. All right, so two pieces of paper, something to cut with, something to stick with, and something to color with. All right, and it can be very helpful to have a pencil too. All right, so on the thicker piece of paper, which I'm doing in gray so you can tell it apart from the thin paper, you're going to make a shape that is easy to cut out, okay? So some nice shapes are diamonds, hearts, or leaves, but you can make other shapes too. Just don't make it so complicated that it's really hard to cut, okay? So I'm going to make a heart. It's just a big swoop. And then there's another swoop with a long line that comes down and meets it. Okay, that's a heart. Now see how I made it kind of big? My hands are bigger than yours, but it's about the size of the middle of my hand, the palm of my hand. You can make it a little bigger than that too. But don't make it too big. You don't want it to fill up more than half the paper, okay? The way to make a leaf is you can either make just a curved shape like a teardrop and then have a stem, or you can make a shape like that, but then you add points like that, and then you add a stem. Make sure the stem is kind of thick, because if it's thin, if it's a tiny little stem, when you cut that, it'll break, right? You want to make sure that it's nice and thick. All right, let's look at how to cut these. So I'm using big person scissors. I want you to use the safety scissors that you have, or whatever scissors you have, but make sure that you have grown-up supervision, please. Okay, so when I'm cutting out of a big piece of paper, I like to cut around my shape so that I don't have so much to deal with. It's a lot easier to just have a smaller piece of paper. Now I'm going to put my hand over here and hold it. And then with my scissor hand, which my dominant hand, I'm right-handed, but if you're left-handed, it would be your left hand. You have the thumb in the smaller space and fingers in the bigger space, like that, okay? Now, we don't wave scissors around, right? There are rules for using scissors safely. Now, I'm just gonna, holding my hand away from the scissors, I'm gonna start cutting so that I cut along a line and I stop where the line stops, okay? Now I can put my scissors back in there and turn the paper so that it's easier for me to cut and stay with the line. See how I'm turning the paper while I cut? Sometimes I might accidentally go off the line, so I have to readjust a little bit. Now it's easier for me to just end the cut and snip off a piece, set my scissors down, take the scrap, put it in recycling, pick the scissors up again, and start again on the new corner. But this is hard. This is hard. I'm cutting toward my fingers. I'm gonna cut myself. It's really hard to cut with my wrist all bent. So it's actually, I'm gonna turn my paper and grab it again, and then just carefully start so that I'm always cutting away from myself. And I'm turning the paper to make it easy. Okay. Now, this leaf happens to look kind of like when you have a pack of cards, it looks like the spades. So I want to make this look a little bit less like the spades symbol from cards and more like a leaf. So what I can actually do is cut little notches out of it. I just drew in, and that you can't really see right now, but there they are, if you can kind of see that. Okay, so very carefully cut, turn, whoops. That's gonna be tricky, isn't it? I'm gonna have to do it a little bit crooked right now. Cut until it meets. Just like that. I'm going to keep going. So I've got these notches that I cut out. And if you can see the lines on the paper, that's okay, because you can always just turn it over. Now, I'm going to pick up these little scraps here. Ew. Throw them away. They don't even go in recycling. They're too tiny. Now I have got a leaf, and it looks like a leaf, okay? So the next step is I'm going to take my regular floppy paper, my regular thin paper. I'm going to put this aside for a minute, but don't lose it. I'm going to put my paper on here so that the long end is on the top. This is the short end on the side. This is the long end. Okay. Now to fold this in half like a book, you just hold it down with one hand, take the other hand and fold this in until they touch, the corners touch. Up here, double check the corners down here and adjust until they touch. There we go. Hold it down. All right. Hold it down with your hand and then take your other hand and smooth it out so that you go out toward the corner to the middle here where it's folded. And then you just smooth down the seam. Okay, so it's nice and folded. Voila, it's like a book, but it's actually like a card, right? Okay, so on a card, this part here, before you turn the page, this front part, we put a lot of design there. And then we put our message in here. That's how cards are often made to look. So the outside has a design, and then the inside has a message, okay? So for the message, I'm gonna write thank you. So if you would like to write thank you with me, and then you can decorate those letters, that'll be the first thing we'll do. So thank you is spelled T-H-A-N-K. All right. And then it's a new word, Y-O-U. Now, if you already knew how to write thank you, good job. And if you didn't, or you weren't sure, now you know. So later on, you can color this, outline it, decorate it however you want. You can write the person's name. You can even do an exclamation mark, which means you're excited to say thank you. Okay, but what we're going to do now is we're going to do the front cover. Okay, the part that they first see when they get the card. So what you're going to do is take this bad boy we cut out, right? We got that. I'm going to use the side with pencil marks on it. No, I'm going to use the other side because it's prettier. And the first thing I'm going to do is put it down in some way that I like. Maybe a little sideways, maybe straight up and down. It's totally up to you, however you want to do it when you do yours. I'm going to take some crayons. Now, normally we say just have one crayon out at a time, but this time it's a little easier if I choose my colors ahead of time for this project. So I am going to choose some colors, and I'm going to choose fall leaf colors, but you can choose whatever colors you want. Okay, so you're just going to hold the leaf down, and you're going to keep it down on the paper in one spot. Okay, choose your first color. Now you're going to start inside of the paper and draw outward like this. Each time I go, I'm starting on the inside and drawing outward. But you can actually do a lot so that you color it in, so it's all colored. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see more of that. All right, so I'm keeping my hand down. I'm keeping this in the same spot, and I'm going to keep going. I'm doing pink now. It's hard to see on the screen. I'm going to do some yellow. Maybe I'll overlap it a little bit. That's all right. Okay, some green. These colors are very light on the screen. Oops, I slipped. What do? All you have to do is just put it back in the same spot as close as you can get it. And sometimes you'll have to turn it so it's easier to color, and then you keep going. I'm going really fast, but I start on the inside and go out. If you start on the outside and go in and the paper isn't thick, it's just going to pull it up and rip it. So you have to start on the inside and color outward. Okay. I'm going to keep going all the way around, and I'll come back to you when this one is done so I can show you the next step. All right, so I've colored all the way around. It's kind of hard to see there. With a little bit more light, you can see it. Now, if I've got lines all the way around, what I can do now is pull that away, and I've got a really cool outline of a leaf. It's not what you might expect. It looks different than normal, and I think different can be really fun. So now I can do that again. Just put it in a different spot and overlap it, and maybe use some different colors. And after I've done that a couple times, you guys, this is the really cool part. After you've done a couple layers, you can actually, let me see if I can find my example. You can actually glue this down too. So you just turn it over to the side that isn't colored in. Turn your glue stick to where a little bit of it shows, but not a lot. Hold it down. Put glue on each surface. Okay, you want it to go out to the edges kind of, but you don't want to go out onto the paper on accident. Okay, now you turn this down so it's inside. You have to turn this part so it's inside the cap again, or inside the tube. Put the cap on until it snaps. Turn this over. Put it down wherever you like it. And voila. So there you have it. There's a really cool card. Now you can do more coloring on this and make it look however you want it to. And then you decorate the inside and write their name. And you have a beautiful card to give somebody. So I just want to tell you guys to have a wonderful fall break. And I want to say thank you for being you. And I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.